Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Starting just a tad late. As Randy Rosarina comes to the plate, takes the first two pitches, grounds out to third base. Trying to make some coffee and take some medicine. It was difficult for me to talk. I had medicine in my mouth. Cough medicine. Cal Raleigh is at the plate. First pitch taken for ball one. I'm sorry, strike one. Here's the next toss. 1-1 is the count. Hey, George, love daytime baseball game vibes. Daytime baseball's all right on the weekend. During the week, doesn't make really any sense to me. Love this guy's shirt. Dump here. He's been looking for a homer for a while. Oh, apparently he got a bat from Cal Raleigh, this guy. Hilarious. Here comes a 1-2 pitch. A little outside. 1-2 strikes to Cal Raleigh. And my coffee's almost finished. That medicine tasted terrible. Supposed to swallow it quickly, but I didn't have anything to drink. Next pitch is fouled off by Raleigh. I'm still getting attacked like crazy by MLB and NFL. They keep copywriting the same two videos over and over and over. Little outside. Full count. They've been copywriting the same videos for several days. They haven't stopped. They just keep attacking the same two over and over and over again. Raleigh hits this one down the right field line. Carpenter is over. Torkelson is over. They can't get it. It bounces right in front of the wall there. We'll have another 3-2 count pitch to Mr. Raleigh. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss. Splitter low in the zone. Raleigh couldn't handle it, and he'll go have a seat. Casey Mize on the mound for the Detroit Tigers today. I hope everyone is having a good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. J-Rod at the plate fouls off the first pitch. A slider. 11 pitches now for Mize. Here comes the next toss. Just a little inside. 1-1 strike. It is 4:13 in the morning here. Check swing, fouls off his bat. The count's 1-2. Ooh, coffee's full. Coffee's full. Too full. Here's the pitch. Grounded foul down the third baseline. 2 up and 2 down so far for Mize. Rodriguez at the plate with a 1-2 count. Here comes the next pitch from Mize. Fouled at the plate. Sounds like the commentators are jumping the gun Rodriguez fouled it off at the plate, as you can see here. And he says, and he got Rodriguez. And then he caught himself and he said, the foul tip off at the plate almost got him. He was trying to call that strikeout a little preemptively. That is a ball, and the count is even 2-2. Here's a 2-2 pitch. That's hit high out into left center field. Should be playable. Riley comes over and grabs it. That's a 1-2-3 first inning for Casey Mize. No hits, no runs. Zero to zero. The Tigers will be up in just a moment with their first opportunity. In the bottom of the first, Bryce Miller will be on the mound for the Mariners. Take a quick look at what we've got here. 2025 regular season stats: 4 wins, 6 losses, 5.68 ERA. 18 games played, 18 games saved, 90.1 pitches. Last 7 games, his ERA was 5.4, 5.93 in the last 15 games, 5.68 in the last 30 games. Innings pitched 36.2, gave up 22 earned runs and 9 walks. In the last 74.1 games, gave up 78 hits, 49 earned runs, 26 walks. You could say, at best, a very so-so pitcher. Not particularly great numbers to be looking at there. Hey, Dale, good to have you back. Thank you for joining. A couple of great games yesterday. Let's have some more today. Good morning. Yeah, let's have some more. And I was ultimately able to get about 7 hours of sleep. So that's not bad at all. But I was having dreams about calling the game. So I guess yesterday was such a long, grueling day. The last couple of days, I've had some long days. I mean, last Monday, which is Sunday in the U.S., I had 3 back-to-back games. I did the Texans game and then, of course, the American League District Series games. So I had over 9 hours of streaming on that day. Yesterday was over 7 hours. So it's been a lot recently. Bill says, any double headers in your stream today? I don't have any, I shouldn't have any simultaneously. Just this one and the next one, the Yankees Blue Jays game. I will be doing that game. So if you want to check that out, you can join it later. That game should start about an hour or so after this game ends, if this one doesn't go into extra innings or if this one's not delayed. First pitch to Kerry Carpenter is in there for ball 1. Bryce Miller on the mound. Here comes the toss. Swing and a miss. I'm going to try to keep my previews and clips as short as possible because I'm trying to avoid MLB attacking me again. I remember a long time ago in the beginning, my clips were actually longer than this. Fouled off. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Kerry Carpenter. Are there any other games that you're interested in today, Dell? Are you interested in the Blue Jays Yankees game? Because I'm sticking with the AL right now. I've got some friends doing the NL games. One guy named Dr. Delay. He's been doing some of the National League games, and just out of a need to rest and respect for him, I've just been recommending that you go to him for the NL games. That's rip foul down the third baseline and into the crowd. Hey, Gregory. Gregory says, I didn't like the outcome of the last games. Go Blue Jays and Tigers. Yeah, I would have preferred that the Blue Jays win, but I think it's not a big deal. I think they still got the series easily under control. This is hit straight up into the air. Suarez is way over by second base to get it. Out number one. Carpenter goes down. And Glaber Torres is due up. Dale says, I love your stream because you do show clips. Thank you for that. Well, I appreciate it, Dale. Thank you very much. I'm trying to walk the line between, giving you guys some good value and also not rubbing the MLB the wrong way. Here comes the 0-1 pitch. High and outside. 1 ball, 1 strike to Torres. George says Dr. Delay is awesome. Yes, and he finally got a new microphone. I wanted to mention that to him several times. Please get another microphone because the microphone he was using was absolutely terrible. Couldn't hear his voice at all. If I wanted to listen to him on my phone or something and play it on the speaker, I would turn the volume all the way up as high as possible and I could still barely hear him. So the audio was really low. Here's the 1-2 pitch, low and outside, 2-2. But he got a new microphone, so that was nice. Glad to see that. Dale says just watching to see if New York will take the Jays and hoping Phillies go down. So you're going for the Dodgers? Swing and a miss. Torres goes down, strikeout for Bryce Miller. He's up to 11 pitches, 7 of those in the zone. 2 up and 2 down. First 5 batters of the game have been retired between the Mariners and the Tigers. Here comes the next pitch. Right in there. Colt Keith is the next victim. 0-1 is the count. Gregory pulling big time for the Tigers, hoping they can come back. Here's the pitch. Bounced up the first base line to the pitcher. Gets the flip over just in time. Could have been an infield hit. Miller's able to get it over, and it's 0-0. We are all goose eggs right now. No hits, no errors, no runs. That's the end of one, folks. We go to the top of the second. Casey Mize will be back up on the mound in just a moment, facing Jorge Polanco, Josh Naylor, and Eugenio Suarez. Yes, George, the new mic is really good. Texas Dave says, let's go Mariners. I think it's interesting how my Houston community here is a little divided on who they want to win, between the Tigers and the Mariners. There's basically no division on who they want to win between the Blue Jays and the Yankees. I think it's pretty obvious why. Texas Dave says Yankees finally woke up last night. Yeah, didn't they? It watching the Yankees start hitting the ball yesterday, it reminds me of a like a anime. And I know there's some movies like that, but it's more common in anime where the main character has just been beaten down and beaten down and beaten down, and he's almost completely gone. Maybe he's almost killed, but that's what it took for him to finally find his inner power and begin to fight back and win. That's kind of the way I feel about the Yankees. They had the crap beat out of them. I mean, they were getting slapped around. They looked like a total joke. But their main guy, Aaron Judge, it was their main guy that did it for them. If not for Aaron Judge, they would have lost that game, and that's the truth. But he came out and he wound up getting 4 RBIs. You take those RBIs out of the game, if Judge had just struck out, most likely they wouldn't have got any more runs and they would have been swept out. But Judge came through, so good for him. I'm not ashamed at all to admit that I admire Judge. I like him a lot. I have nothing against him. If I were in Dykene Park and Judge came to the plate, I wouldn't be booing him. It's you're watching an extremely talented player. Why would I boo somebody like that? Can't stand the Yankees. It's not really the team so much. It's the toxic fan culture. So I'm definitely a typical Astro fan in that regard. And that's why I want to see the Yankees lose. So if I can see Aaron Judge do really well, but the Yankees lose, that's fine by me. Maybe it will give him an opportunity to be traded to another team. Here's the 0-1 pitch to Polanco. That's also in there. 2 pitches right in the zone back to back, and it's 0-2. Dale says, wouldn't want to face Phillies or Dodgers, but M's do have payback coming for the Dodgers. The sooner the Dodgers get kicked out, the better. Polanco strikes out on an 0-2 pitch. He finally goes after it, can't get the bat on it. One away, Josh Naylor comes to the plate. First pitch to Naylor's right in there. That's 4 straight strikes this inning thrown by Mize. Texas Dave wants to know what my game time snacks are. Well, if you follow my broadcasts, you'll notice I'm typically not eating during the podcast, or during the broadcast. 1 ball, 1 strike to Naylor. 1 out, nobody on. Top of the second, it's 0-0. During the games, I usually don't eat anything. If I eat, it's either before, in between, or after. This one's hitting in the right field. That's going to be fair into the corner. Naylor's going to be heading to 2, and he strolls in there, standing up for a double. 1 out double for Naylor, the first hitter of the game and first base runner. This is a guy I wish the Astros could have gotten. Josh Naylor. If I could swap him out for Christian Walker, I'd do it all day long. Good first baseman who can hit lefty. He'd be perfect in the Astros lineup. Absolutely perfect in the lineup. Eugenio Suarez comes to the plate. Now, Suarez, while he does offer power, he's a guy that I thought would have been a big mistake for the Astros to get. Strike on the outside edge. It's mainly because he's just another right-handed bat. His OPS is 530 for the postseason, so he's not doing so great. He has had a homer though. 96 inside. Texas Dave says, as long as the Dodgers and Yankees lose, I'm happy. Yep, I'm kind of the same way. And the Cubs, you can add the Cubs to that because those are the 3 teams, especially the Dodgers and the Cubs. Those are the 2 teams that I want kicked out as soon as possible. I like for them to get to the playoffs so they think they have a chance, but then they get kicked out. So the fans get let down. But Texas Dave, I will say this. If I can watch a game and not have to call the game if I'm just watching it. I do like to eat pizza. I prefer to have popcorn whenever I'm watching a movie. Low and outside in the dirt. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Suarez. Naylor on second with 1 out. But I love to have a really nice hot pizza. Maybe a couple of different pizzas to choose from. Maybe 3 if I'm really greedy. If I've got some friends around, we got a few different pizzas to choose from. Maybe some potato chips. Suarez swings and strikes out. That's out number 2. 2 down, and Naylor's still on second base. That brings up Dominic Canzone. Yeah, the Jays are pretty good. I mean, even when they lost, they scored a decent amount of runs, right? First pitch to Canzone is hit through the right side. Looks like Naylor is going to score. He's waved in. Here's the throw. The throw is just a little off the line, but it doesn't really matter. Even if it had been right on the money, it wouldn't have mattered. I think Naylor made it anyway. He scores without having to slide. It's 1-0 Mariners. That was a splitter down, but where some of the others have failed to get it, Canzone is able to hit it. The single to right field puts Canzone on first base and drives in Naylor. Victor Robles is at the plate, fouls off that first pitch. 0-1 is the count. Yep, Judge did Judge things. He sure did. Here's the pitch. Fouled off. 0-2. Let's see. Texas Dave says Judge is good for the game. So is Ohtani. I don't agree about Ohtani. The reason I don't agree about Ohtani is because number one, he's massively overpaid. Number two, he's playing for the Dodgers. That next pitch is low. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Robles. And number three, I think there's a lot more going on with off-field stuff than what we're privy to. I mean, the betting and gambling stuff. Did you see how fast it went away? And the contradictions between what he said and what came out later. There's really a lot more going on there, but MLB cannot afford for that to get out. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that we don't know about, and they paint this picture of him being, this really wholesome guy, right? 96 almost hit him way inside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. No, that's a full count. I'm sorry. 3-2 with 2 outs to Victor Robles. Canzone on first base. But anyway, I'm the jury's out for me on Ohtani right now, and I don't like the way MLB handled all that stuff. They just kind of swept everything under the rug as quickly as possible. Here's the toss. Low and outside, ball 4. Robles walks. That's going to be an extended inning for Mize. He's got runners on first and second with 2 outs and J.B. Crawford at the plate. Bill says Judge and Big Dumper co-MVPs. I don't think so. I know that what Cal Raleigh is doing as a catcher is pretty amazing, but I just don't see how his play is worthy of being equal to Aaron Judge's play. I don't see that. Cal Raleigh is I know some people are trying to argue that's ball 1 to JP Crawford. Some people are trying to argue that, well, look at Cal's defense. What about it? What's so special about Cal's defense that makes him earn a co MVP with Aaron Judge? I just don't see it. I'm sorry. He's doing what a catcher is supposed to do on defense. He doesn't stand out to me as the most amazing catcher ever, 96 in the top of the zone. They say he went around. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Crawford. There's no noticeable difference in performance on defense between Judge and Cal Raleigh. And if we look at offense, Judge easily wins out. So I just don't see a comparison there. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Here's the toss. Swing and a miss up high. Mize gets out of a little jam. He gave up 1 run. But with 2 on, he gets the strikeout against Crawford. Naylor gets the double, and he gets driven in on a single by Canzone. It's 1-0. Mariners have 2 hits and 1 run on the board in the top of the second. We go to the bottom of the second. The Tigers will be up in just a moment, starting with Riley Green, followed by Spencer Torkelson and Zach McKinstry. Texas Dave wants the big dumper to win the MVP. I think if he does, it'll be unfair. Co-MVP would be unfair to judge, but giving it to the big dumper would be terrible, I think. Judge is like a giant Jeff Bagwell. Yeah, you could say that. I sometimes wonder, what if Jose Altuve had the body of Aaron Judge? Can you imagine? His OPS would be like 1.8. He'd have about 100 home runs in a year. It would be insane. The kind of work ethic and dedication and passion that Altuve has in a body like Aaron Judge's would be absolutely insane. I mean, if you really look at what Altuve has accomplished in his small frame, it's ungodly. So I'm actually more impressed by Jose Altuve than I am by Aaron Judge. If you take away Aaron Judge's size, you're going to take away a lot of his power, right? I mean, he's a huge guy. He's really big. He's what, like 6'7"? He's a really big guy. I mean, I'm 6'2", when I stand up next to a guy like Judge, it makes me feel like a child. So when I stand next to Altuve, it makes me feel like a giant. It's this size of a person is. I mean, I live in Japan, so when I go out and about, 99.99% of the time, I'm quite a bit taller than everybody else. And it's really interesting because when I get on the subway train, I'm standing there on the subway train. If there's no room for me to sit down, I'm standing there holding the handle, right? And if I look all the way down the train this way and all the way down the train that way, everybody else is like right here to me, so I can see all the way down the train, all the way to the other end. It's really funny. Um, every once in a while, there'll be like one guy who is a little taller, maybe about my height, but it's not often. So Otani is I don't know what they fed him. I don't know what his parents fed him, but he is not the norm in Japan. That's for sure. He's rare, but he's another one of those guys that benefits from his size. If he is a much smaller guy, he does not have the power that he does, and that's just. I mean, it's just the truth. It's like a 7'2" guy playing basketball. He's not going to be an amazing ball handler dribbling the ball down the court, and he's not going to be great at shooting long distance field goals. But inside the paint, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with, and he doesn't have to jump very high. Those guys actually can't jump very high at all. I used to be able to jump about 3 feet in the air. I had about a 3-foot vertical. That's insane. But I had to in order to dunk the ball. At 6'2", you really have to jump. People like Spud Webb and Muggsy Bogues, you guys have no idea how high their vertical was. It's insane. 1 ball, 1 strike to Riley Green from Bryce Miller. Miller up to 15 pitches now. Here comes a 1-1 pitch. Green pulls that one foul. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Texas Dave wants to know if the Dodgers have lost a game yet. Um, Well, I think they won the wild card in 2 games, right? And they've won 2 games, so no, they haven't lost. I don't think so. Well, well, yeah, they played. Did they lose to the Phillies yesterday? That's a good question. I didn't pay any attention yesterday. I was off. Let me pull it up. Let me pull up the schedule right quick. Yesterday, they didn't play. They didn't play yesterday. No, game 3 is today. Yeah, that's right. Game 3 is today. 2 balls and 2 strikes. That's in the dirt. No outs. Riley Green facing Bryce Miller. Tigers down by 1. We're in the bottom of the second with nobody on, nobody out. 19th pitch of the game coming for Bryce Miller. It's ripped down the first baseline, but Naylor's got it. He tosses to Miller, and he's out at first base. Riley Green goes down. Spencer Torkelson comes to the plate. Ryan says, after game got delayed longer yesterday, I went to watch both games with my dad, but I'm back. Welcome back, Ryan. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate you. Everybody listening in, I do appreciate you being here. We've got about 35 people watching right now. Do like the live stream. If you don't mind, it would greatly help me out. Help me build the channel. Here's the pitch. Right in the bottom of the zone, 97 miles an hour. Strike 1 to Torkelson. I have been dealing with some increased symptoms recently. Here's a pitch. Fouls it off. 97 miles an hour. 0-2 is the count. But basically, I have been fighting an annoying cancer situation. Renal cancer, which is basically kidney cancer, for over 3 years now. And some of the symptoms have been increasing recently. That might be gone. No, it's held inside the park all the way out to right field. Torkelson gave it a ride. He put some torque on it, put a little Torkelson on it, sent it out to right field, but Robles was able to grab it right at the warning track for out number 2. Almost evened the game up. But it's difficult to explain, but basically, when your blood is pumped down by your heart, right? But it's not pumped up. It's brought up by other processes. McKinstry's at the plate and hits it right up the middle on the very first pitch. Line drive single. He's on first base with 2 outs. Dylan Dingler comes to the plate. But anyway, there's a restricted and blocked blood flow on the return. So my body has to find alternate blood vessel routes to get the blood back up into my lungs and my heart. And it causes me to have a lot of pain and heart palpitations and stuff. Up and in, ball 1. McKinstry on first base with 2 outs here in the bottom of the second. Dylan Dingler at the plate. But in about a month, my plan is to move to a very cheap apartment. It costs about $175 a month. It's actually rented by a friend of a friend, but it's a Vietnamese guy, and he's going to go back to Vietnam for several months. And during that time, I'm going to stay in his apartment. Let's head out to center field, but it looks like it's going to be catchable, and it is for J-Rod. So the Tigers get their first hit of the game and a couple of deep hits out to right and center field, but nothing comes of it. And we're done with the second inning. 2 hits for the Mariners, 1 for the Tigers. It is 1-0 going in the top of the third. Randy Arozarena due up at the plate for the Mariners. Back to the top of the batting order. Cal Raleigh on deck and J-Rod in the hole. But anyway, the reason I told you guys that about myself, I've mentioned it before. Some of you already know that. But if for some reason I have to, whoop, let me close that. I have to miss some games, then now if I'm in the hospital and I'm coherent, then I will definitely post on my channel to let you guys and gals know that I'm in the hospital and I'm unable to live stream my games. But if for some reason I stop showing up for my live streams and there are no updates, then you can assume that I'm in the hospital and unable to post, or something more permanent has happened. I don't want to sound grim or anything. It's just that that's where I am in my life right now with my body. I, of course, do hope that my doctor is wrong and that I'm able to recover, but it's just that my symptoms keep increasing. And so it's difficult to see myself getting better, but I do hope that I can. I really do. I don't know what else to do apart from just not eating at all anymore. Even right now, when I drink coffee, I just drink black coffee so I can get the antioxidant benefit. For those of you who don't know this, whenever you add animal milk, that animal fat binds to the coffee and you're not able to get the benefits of the antioxidants. But if you drink coffee black, or if you drink it with like almond milk, or oat milk or something like that, not goat, oat milk, and then it does not bind. There's no animal fat to bind with the coffee, so you can still get the benefit from it. You can also use like coconut oil, or coconut, anything except for animal fats, basically, you can put in your coffee. Arozarena's at the plate. Here's the first pitch from Mize. Top of the third. That's hit out. Ooh, line drive. Straight to third. Nice catch. One pitch. One out. McKinstry over at third grabs the line out, robbing Arozarena of a possible single or double. The big dumper is back at the plate. The guy that you guys want to win the MVP. Little high, ball one. Yeah, it is a little early. Yeah, chili dogs are awesome. One thing I haven't had in a long, long time, maybe 7 years, is that extra long cheese coney from Sonic Drive-Thru. I used to love that, and also the Frito pie. Oh my gosh, those things I haven't had in so long. Crazy. Chili cheese Frito pie. 3 straight balls to the big dumper. He's about to be the big walker right now. The big Christian Walker. 3-0 with 1 out, nobody on. Here's the pitch from Mize. That's right in there. Strike one, 94-mile-per-hour fastball. Yeah, I figured, Dale, that you wanted Cal. I know that you like the Mariners, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not calling you out or anything. I just figured, yeah, you would definitely want Cal for MVP. I can understand that. If Yordan Alvarez were up for MVP with Judge, what I would say is that's a walk. What I would say is I would like to see Yordan win it because I'm an Astros fan. But if Yordan were doing the same thing as Raleigh is doing versus Judge, I'd have to admit that Judge deserves it more. but I wouldn't be upset if Jordan were to win it. Swing and a miss by J-Rod. Big swing and a miss. He was swinging for the fences there. 0-1 is the count. Cal Raleigh on first base with 1 out. 0 for 1 today is J-Rod. Tigers already have somebody warming up in the bullpen. 96 on the upper outside corner, strike 2. Yeah, JD, I don't think anybody would choose Walker over Naylor. I mean, most guys, most first basemen are better than Christian Walker. Walker is the epitome of so-so. I mean, when he has a good year, he's so-so. That's the thing. That's what I that's why I haven't really liked him, is because, when he has a regular year, he's just so-so. And yeah, as a first baseman, you got to have power over there. That's a swing and a miss strikeout for J-Rod. He's 0 for 2 today. He'll head back to the dugout with 2 outs. Cal Raleigh's on first base with 2 down, and Jorge Polanco comes to the place. Texas Dave says Cubs are okay, but they aren't winning games. Okay doesn't win games, right? I like Kyle Tucker, but like I said, can't stand the Cubs. Yeah, I also love nachos, Texas Dave, but I like the really augmented nachos. 0-1 is the count to Polanco. Here comes the toss. Swing and a miss on the outside. 98 miles an hour, strike 2. 2 outs, 2 strikes, no balls. Raleigh on first. Mai is trying to get the Tigers out of the top of the third without any damage. Oh, 2 pitch on the way. He hits that one straight up in the air and out of play. The nachos that I like are like the complete nachos, what you might call supreme nachos, with everything. The chili, the cheese, even the beans and the chili, the melted cheese, the lettuce, tomatoes, sour cream, guacamole, everything. I like everything on my nachos, jalapenos. I like it all. There is a great place in Hiroshima City. That's fouled away. The count remains 0-2 to Polanco. This is another guy I wish the Astros could have gotten. If we'd gotten Polanco and Naylor, holy cow, we'd have been in the playoffs for sure. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Just a little outside, 1-2. But yeah, there's a place called Morgan, and Morgan it's just a small little place in Hiroshima. They only have 2 tables and a little bar seating section that seats about 5 people. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Maybe they can seat 11 people tops. And that is strike 3 right in there. Polanco takes it. I don't think he liked it too much, but he's rung up, and that's the end of the inning. That's the end of the top of the third, rather. No damage done after the walk to Raleigh. Bryce Miller may be back up on the mound. He should be. He's up to 25 pitches and 18 of those in the strike zone. 1 hit given up. No runs. Parker Meadows, the first batter due, followed by Javier Baez and then Kerry Carpenter. But anyway, the reason I mentioned that place in Hiroshima is because it's owned and operated by Japanese, but they call it an American comfort food place. And it really is. It's no joke. They are spot on. They knew exactly what they were doing when they opened that place, because their menu is perfect. I kid you not. When you go there, you want to try everything on the menu. They've even got what's called the Elvis Presley. Each of their food items has like a different name, and they have this really big sandwich that's peanut butter and bananas, and they call it the Elvis Presley. It's hilarious. But all of their food items are also huge. You have these big servings. It's totally not like other Japanese places, and they have no Japanese food at all. Everything that they make there is American style or Tex-Mex, and they have the best freaking nachos. I mean, they are amazing. And to get really great nachos that are at the very least as good as what you would get in America is difficult to do in Japan unless you're in a place like Osaka or Tokyo. But even then, you really have to go around and try a few different places because you can't go to a chain restaurant. If you go to a chain Mexican restaurant in Japan, it will be okay, but you will not have amazing nachos. You'll just have maybe okay nachos. But this is an independent place, and they have the absolute best American style and Tex Mex stuff in all of Japan, as far as I'm concerned. But they definitely have the best nachos. And I don't know of any place I've ever been in America that has better nachos than that place in Hiroshima. And that's not an exaggeration. Trust me, I've been to so many Mexican places here in Japan in different cities. Every time I go to a different city, I always look to see if they have some kind of Tex-Mex or Mexican place, and most of them tend to be more like kind of like the chain style, and they don't have many of them, but um, the independent places can often have some of the most amazing food. But Morgan is the best. I love that place. Yeah, you're right, Dale. It's favoritism. Like I said, I would probably have a little favoritism towards Jordan Alvarez if you were in a similar situation. But at the same time, I'm willing to admit that Judge is just better. He deserves it more. Very first pitch is a foul out to shortstop. J.P. Crawford puts it away, and that's one down. Parker Meadow flies out. Javier Baez comes to the plate next. Gary Carpenter on deck. I appreciate that, Ryan. Um, yeah, I've got to deal with symptoms basically all day and all night. If I'm lucky, I sleep for at least 4 hours without waking up. If I can sleep for 4 hours without waking up, then that's really nice for me. I remember being able to sleep for 8 or 9 hours straight before, but that hasn't been the case in a long time. Swing and a miss, one ball, one strike to Baez. Waking up with heart palpitations or fast beating heart or chest pains or kidney pain or even I have pains throughout my body. It's all related to the same issue. It's difficult to deal with all the time. That's lifted way up in the air over to third base. Suarez is able to put it away in shallow left field, and that's two up and two down for Bryce Miller here in the bottom of the third. Kerry Carpenter coming up next with two outs and nobody on. Dale says 62 years, brain feels 38, body feels like it needs to be towed to the scrapyard. Fouled off by Carpenter, 0-1 is the count. Yeah, I don't get it. My I was playing baseball with some people just 5 years ago when I was in Tokyo. I was playing third base with a friend of mine, the Taiwanese team over there. My heart and my mind are still in athlete mode. I was a big athlete when I was younger, but my body is just suffering in so many ways. I'm not even I'm 50 now, but I'm not even in good enough shape to be considered a 50-year-old. And it's not because of age. People are talking about, yeah, it sucks getting older. It has nothing to do with age. It has everything to do with cancer. So there you go. Here's the O2 fouled off. The blood flow is even causing me to have to use glasses. The blood flow is not good in my upper body either. And so it makes it harder to see and read up close. So I actually have two different sets of reading glasses, one for up close and one for the computer screen. Here's a pitch. Low and in the dirt. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Carpenter. Or is that 1 ball and 2 strikes? I look it up on the screen. I looked up on the screen and I thought it was 1 and 2 already, but apparently it is just now 1 and 2. I stand corrected. Here comes a 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss outside, struck him out, and that's the end of the inning. 1-2-3. Some mild boos in the stadium here. Much more beautiful weather today in Detroit than before. But it doesn't seem to be helping the Tigers so far. That's the end of 3 innings. It's 1-0. It's how many? 1 hit? Yeah, just 1 hit so far for the Tigers. 2 for the Mariners. A third of this game is gone. Top of the 4th coming up. Josh Naylor, 1 for 1 today with a double. He'll be at the plate, followed by Suarez and Canzone. Didn't you will get copyright. I I don't know what that means, Wild Talks. Imagine if they don't get a run and go with 0. Well, it's possible. You never know. Baseball, anything is possible. Wild Talks. Wild Talks, I don't know what your deal is, but just because you put comments in the chat doesn't mean I respond to you. I don't even understand half of what you're saying. Your first comment doesn't make any sense. You said, didn't you will get copyright. I don't even understand what you're trying to say there. I can only guess. So you need to improve your grammar a little bit. And I'm not poking fun at you. I'm being honest. I really don't know what you're trying to say. I can only guess at what you're trying to say. But coming out and saying, "Bro, can you listen me?" Did listening to a record? I seriously don't know what you're talking about. And because of the way you're typing in English, it seems like you might even be a scammer, to be honest, because scammers often speak this way. Nachos, burgers, hot dogs, fries, burritos. Yeah, if the place that I'm talking about has the burgers. They have different types of burgers, sandwiches, nachos. They do have a type of hot dog, I believe. And of course they have fries. They also have potato chips, a variety of potato chips. They have a lot of stuff. Scary Carrie. Scary Carrie. That would be like the evil version of Harry Carey. Instead of Cubs blues, he would say, Cubs kill, Cubs kill. Tyler Holton is now in the game for the Tigers. He was warming up in the bullpen a few moments ago. So they're going to go ahead and go with Holton from the 4th. Naylor at the plate. He doubled his last at bat. That's in the dirt for ball 1. Jay says, played adult league baseball until 51 years old. Here's the pitch. That's bounced up the middle off the glove of the pitcher, and it's going to bounce through. Wow. That went off of 2 gloves, it looks like. It went off Holton's glove and then went through Baez. And Josh Naylor is on first base. Is that going to be an error? Let's take a look at this. What happened here? Oh, yeah, it bounced off of Baez. That's hilarious. Like a pinball. Just look at that. Couldn't get it. So it bounces off the pitcher's mitt and then off of Baez. Naylor's on first. They're going to rule it as a hit. I think that should have been an error. They're being generous. Baez should have caught that ball. Terrible defense. Sometimes they're just too generous. Oh, it was difficult to catch, so let's make it a hit. No, I don't think so. That was called an error in my day. Suarez at the plate with 2 balls and no strikes. Naylor on first, no outs. Jay, if you played in the adult league, does that mean that Never mind. I was gonna make a joke because, adult league, it's just a joke. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Here's a pitch. Inside. 3 balls and 1 strike. My chat is not late. It's just that I have something to do. So I don't always get to the chats on time. And there's no such thing as a chat being late. I can put it on a delay. But I see your comments just fine, but I don't necessarily respond in a timely fashion. And I don't necessarily respond at all. I don't owe everybody a response. I do try to get to messages generally. But if people start getting annoying with me, then I will just mute them. If they're getting rude, then I will just kick them off my channel. Gonna have a little meeting on the mound right now after that hit. No outs. Josh Naylor on first base. I'm sorry, second base. Eugenio Suarez on first. No outs. A little bit of a jam going on for Tyler Holton, the new pitcher. Mitch Garver at the plate. Gregory says if the Astros were here against the Mariners, Astros would have 5 runs. Well, if the Astros were playing to their even just 75% of their potential, I could see that. I'd agree with you. But if the Astros were here right now playing like they were all second half of the season, then they probably would not have but 1 run at the most right now. But then again, they could have 7 runs. They're a coin toss. Lefty to righty. Here's the pitch to Garver. That's in there for strike 1. That's right. No bots wanted. No scammers. No jerks. Here comes a 0-1 pitch. Swing and a miss. 0-2 to Garver. Thank you, Jay, for hitting the like button. Tyler Holton on the mound. He's up to 9 pitches, 5 of those in the zone. He's got 2 runners on with no outs. Here's the pitch. That's bounced to third, but foul. The count remains 0-2. Garver. Looks like runners were stealing. They're going to go back to second and first. Here's a pitch. Low and outside. Josh Naylor is doing signals from second base. So either they are signaling the batter or they're trying to make the Tigers think that they're signaling the batter. One of those. Here's the pitch. Two balls and 2 strikes to Garver. It might be, Dale. It might be. Garver flies it out to right field. Long run, and it drops just foul. We'll have another 2-2 pitch. They're going to have to drive in these lobsters, bring these lobsters home. Gregory calling for the triple play. The Tigers better not get a triple play. I was waiting all year long to see a triple play by the Astros, and I never did. My whole life, I've always wanted to see a triple play live. And I thought maybe if I watch and call every single game, I'll see one, but I never did see one. Saw a lot of double plays, though. The Astros are pretty good at getting double plays. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Garver takes it low and outside, and now that's a full count. Dell is calling for a 3-run homer by Mitch Garver. Here's the toss. Outside, ball 4. Mistake by Holton, and now he has bases loaded with no outs. And A.J. Hinch is coming out. He might be taking him out. Victor Robles comes to the plate. Yep, Holton is done. So Naylor gets the single up the middle. Suarez gets the single. Garver gets the walk. And we've got bases loaded in the top of the 4th with no outs for Victor Robles. So Holton, the new pitcher, I'm not quite sure why they pulled out the other pitcher. I guess he was at his maximum amount of pitches. That's my guess. So they pulled him out, and immediately Holton loads the bases with no outs. That's cool, Jay. Angels got one. You know, the funny thing is the Astros have a really good chance of getting a triple play because they've got certain guys like Framber Valdez. Valdez is a leader in double play balls. You know, he forces a lot of grounders, and he leads the league typically in ground balls and double play balls. So getting a triple play is actually quite possible for him. And so I was hoping that I would see a triple play by the Astros this year, but it never happened. My viewers can probably tell you, my subscribers can probably tell you that almost every time the Astros had 2 runners on base and they were on defense with no outs, I would say triple play. Is it going to be a triple play? I was always looking for it. And there's Daniel Berry Sports' traditional drop in, tell everybody a happy day, and then move on. Happy Thursday to you, Daniel. He never engages at all, ever, with the chat, never engages in the game, just comes in. I think he does the same thing. He must be doing the same thing to like all of the other sports channels. Just getting some exposure, getting his channel out there, trying to get his name out there. Yeah, well, people talk about jinxing it, but I don't believe in jinxing it. Here's a pitch, low and outside. And I know you're joking, but sometimes people say that. Like, for example, if one of the Astros pitchers he's in the 7th inning and he doesn't have any hits, hasn't given up any runs, I'll say, we got 7 scoreless innings, a couple more, and he'll get a no-hitter. And they're like, no, 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 don't jinx it. Too superstitious for me. 1 ball, 1 strike to Robles. No grand slams in his career. This might be his first. Who knows? That would really send a lot of people home in this crowd. 86 miles an hour below the zone. 2 balls and 1 strike. If any of you get Daniel Berry Sports to respond, I'll be shocked because he's never said anything except happy Wednesday, everyone, happy Tuesday, everyone, etc. This is a grounder to second. It's going to be a double play, but they'll score a run from it. No triple play, but they get the double play. Naylor scores on the fielder's choice. Suarez moves over to third base, and that's 2 down. That was almost the best they could hope for in that situation. I'm not going to say what the commentators always say, that's the best you could hope. No, it's not. The best you could hope for in that situation is a triple play. Up and in A little too far up and in. J.P. Crawford at the plate. Here's that double play. Got it on the heel of the ball. Baez gets it. Yep. Here comes a 1-0 pitch to Crawford. 97 above the zone. 2 balls. Suarez on third, 2 outs, 2-0 Seattle. Hey, you guys should send messages directly to Daniel Berry Sports Highlights and try to get him to respond. I've never seen him say anything except "Happy Wednesday, guys. Happy Tuesday, guys." And that's a foul ball put away, but not before the Mariners add 1 to their lead. Tigers get out of a massive jam created by Tyler Holton. Finnegan comes in and manages to get the Tigers out of the jam. He gets a double play ball and then a foul ball. That's almost the best they could have hoped for in that situation. I mean, the Mariners had bases loaded with no outs, and they were only able to squeeze out 1 run. It's 2-0. That could have been a lot worse. An inning where the Mariners blew it up and just made it hopeless for the Tigers fans. But they're still within striking distance. I mean, the Tigers could definitely overcome a 2-0 lead. That would be no big deal. JD says, "It's your chat. Go do what you wish with it. We support you." Thank you very much. I can't remember who it was, but one of my subscribers for a while, he would beg me to put him in timeout. So I'd put him in timeout for like 30 seconds or something, maybe 1 minute. He thought it was hilarious to be put in timeout. I have a couple of different options with people who come into the chat. If they're just jerks and I know that I'm never going to be able to have them on my channel consistently, then I can ban them from my channel. They could actually type in the chat, but they'll never be seen. Nobody can see them. Sometimes it takes them a moment, I think, to realize they've been quietly blacklisted, but they don't get any messages that say they've been blocked, but all of their messages are invisible on the channel. And then there are some people that I can just put in timeout for a while. And it's strange because I actually do have a subscriber or two that sometimes they come in and I don't know what's going on in their lives. I really don't know what's going on in their lives. But there's one particular subscriber. I'm not going to say who it is, but he he has been he's one of my oldest subscribers. He's been a follower of my channel since over a year ago. And I started in the middle of the summer last year, and he's been following me for quite a while. But all of last year and at the beginning of this year, he's always been positive and upbeat. But then suddenly just started acting like an ass. And I started to suspect maybe somebody else was on his account, but I, I, I don't think so, actually, because why would they, how would they know to come in and follow my game, you know, even if it were like a child or or whatever of a person who follows my channel, why how would they know to go to YouTube and be on their parents' account and come to my game, and just to say rude things in the chat? I feel like maybe sometimes a person like that is just maybe they're drinking or something and it puts them in a bad mood. They're like that type of person. Some people get in a really bad mood when they drink. Bryce Miller is on the mound facing Gleyber Torres. First 2 pitches are a strike. That last one was a foul off. Here comes the 0-2 pitch. Torres hits that one up the middle, and that's a hit for the Tigers. Leadoff runner. After the 0-2 pitch, Torres gets a single, and that's the second hit of the game for the Tigers. McKinstry and Torres now have hits in the game. batting average for teams against Miller, second time through the order, goes up to 305. They bat 211 the first time through. That's interesting. That's a big difference. Colt Keith at the plate. He rips that on into right field, but foul by about 10 feet. Yeah, not quite the breakout, right, Dale? But at least one run. Ryan says I played high school ball with Finnegan's younger brother. What what position did he play? Here's a pitch. That's another one ripped. That's a double play. Yep. Look at that. Josh Naylor with another smart defensive play there. That was ripped down the first baseline. Look at this. He caught it. Great catch. Gleyber Torres goes back to the base. He doesn't realize all he has to do is be tagged, and then he steps on the base. He did it in the right order. Dumb base running there by Torres, who went back and got his foot on the base. See, that's the difference between a guy who understands how the mechanics of baseball work and a guy who doesn't. Bad base running by Torres, and that's 2 outs. Riley Green at the plate. First pitch is high for a ball. See, there's the great defensive play they showed last night by Naylor to end the game. In this one, he makes a great catch, tags Torres first, then steps on the bag to make the out. Next pitch, swing and a miss, 96 miles an hour, right in there. 1-1 is the count. I'm sorry, 2-1 is the count to Riley Green. Yeah, I'm telling you, Naylor knows what he's doing at first base. Here's a pitch. Swing and a miss. That's one of those things that you absolutely have to know as an infielder. How can you not know that? You have to tag the runner first, and then you put your foot on the base. The runner should know that putting my foot back on the base is not going to make me safe. You got to run. It says bounce towards first. Naylor gets that no problem. So he makes all 3 outs. Josh Naylor makes all 3 outs that inning. Smart play. Tag him, step on the base. And then he gets another ground out himself. And that's 3 outs. The Tigers get nothing, despite the leadoff hit. Terrible base running by Torres. And we're done with 4 innings of ball. It's 2-0 Mariners. 4 hits on the board for the Mariners and 2 for the Tigers. We go to the top of the 5th. Randy Rosarina, Cal Raleigh, and Julio Rodriguez due up. Ryan says he was a starting pitcher only, a couple years younger. He was funny as hell and pretty good too. What was his best pitch, or what was his main pitch? Was he more of a fastball kind of guy or a breaking ball guy? I always wanted to be able to throw the changeup, but I didn't have anybody to teach me. That's the stupid thing. They actually had me come in sometimes as like a bridge reliever to just eat an inning and give the other pitchers a break. I was never a pitcher. And the funny thing is, nobody ever taught me how to throw any pitches. So my if I could go back, I would have worked on learning it because I'm 6'2". So if I had been able to actually learn some good pitches, then I could have helped out a little bit better, you know? But my coaches never literally taught me how to throw any pitches. They never taught me about gripping the ball or how to throw any pitches. They were just like, "Hey, we need you to go on the mound in the next inning and pitch an inning." I'm like, "What? I'm a second baseman. I'm not a pitcher." "Yeah, but don't worry about it. Just throw it in the zone, you know." I'm like, "Okay." That happened a few times. So ridiculous. They also had me catch sometimes. I don't want to say that my coaches were retarded, but they kind of were because they weren't real serious. That was the problem. My parents moved us into a village. That's how small the location was. The school that we went to was a private school. And the only reason we were able to go there is because my brother and I were, I mean, he's 6 feet tall. I'm 6'2". We both played sports and we were both pretty good at it. And so we were able to go to this private school on scholarship. But the problem is that school was very, very small, not in any serious leagues. And there was no exposure for me to scouts, really. There was only one scout, and that scout was invited by my basketball coach to come check out our games. And after that, they offered me a scholarship to play college basketball in East Texas. But I didn't want to do that with my life. So I turned that down. A Rosarena at the plate. Here's the pitch. 96 up and in, but in the corner for strike one. 0-1 to a Rosarena. Kyle Finnegan on the mound again. Here's the pitch. Low and inside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Yeah, they said this so far. This is the Josh Naylor game. 2 hits, 2 runs scored. Good defense. He's leading the way. That's ripped down the line and into left field. Well, it looked like it was down the line. It was to the left of the third baseman. He dove for it, couldn't get it in between the shortstop and the third baseman. Rosarena with a hit. He's 1 for 3 today. From the camera angle at first, he ripped it. I thought it was going to be down the line, but it was actually to the third baseman's left. McKinstry couldn't get his glove on it. Top of the fifth, runner on, no outs. He fouls that one off. Finnegan on the mound dealing against the big dumper. Yep. Game-winning play yesterday. Might have the same today. Who knows? Ryan says it was a while ago, but he could pitch about 90 to 92 and had a curve. There were about a few major leaguers that came out of our division, not our school. Gotcha. Fouled off for strike two. 0-2 is the count against Raleigh. Ryan says we had an outfielder that could hit 98, which was crazy to see from behind him. I bet. Here's the pitch. In the dirt. Bounces away. Is able to stay in front of it. Or, keep the ball in front of him, rather. Rosarena stays on first base. The count's 1-2 to Raleigh. Jay says knuckleball's hard for me to learn. My curveball was nasty for a non-pitcher. I could throw a basic curveball. It wasn't anything special. My brother had a really big lollipop curve, but it was so slow it was easy to hit. That one gets away, and Rosarena will advance to second base. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Raleigh. The knuckleball, if I'd been able to learn that one, to throw it consistently the right way, that would have been the best pitch for me because it doesn't take a really strong arm. Anybody can throw that, and throwing the ball a lot actually hurt my arm, so I would have needed a lot of strength training to build up my arm strength to actually be a pitcher. Here's the toss. That's hit out into right field. That'll be down for a hit. Rosarena is being waved around, and he will score easily. RBI for Raleigh. 3-0 Mariners. RBI single for Raleigh. The crowd is booing right now. Nice solid hit out to right center field. The wild pitch cost him. Fouled off. J-Rod at the plate. Rodriguez 0 for 2 today with a strikeout. Raleigh is one behind the number 2 RBI leader for the season. Julio Rodriguez with the 0-2 count. Nobody out. Raleigh on first base. Here comes the pitch. Low and outside. One ball and 2 strikes. Here comes a 1-2 pitch. Low and in the dirt. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Jay says my fastball topped out at 70 miles an hour. I hear that. Dale says, it seems to me I don't see the curve anymore. It's always sliders and splitters. Those knuckle curves are pretty awesome. Hunter Brown has a wicked knuckle curve. This is hit to third. McKinstry goes to second. Relayed over to first, but not in time. They don't get the double play, but they get one lead runner at second base. Out number 1. Raleigh is thrown out. J-Rod is now on first base with Jorge Polanco coming up to the plate. Luke and Baker in the playoffs. Ryan says, I topped out at 78, but was accurate. Only thing I was actually good at. Soft contact, but I literally never played. That was kind of my thing. I didn't have much movement on the ball, but I was a soft contact guy. Got a lot of ground balls. You know, I don't think I ever gave up any runs. I didn't pitch a lot. I would come in every once in a while, and I'd pitch just one inning. But I never gave up any runs. Usually just focused on putting it. My aim was always to put it in the bottom of the zone. Got a lot of ground balls. 2 balls and no strikes now to Polanco. 1 out. Julio on first base. He's got a big lead over there at first. Here's the pitch. J-Rod is attempting a steal, and that's hit way out into right field deep, all the way out, and just foul. Barely foul. That was almost a home run by Polanco. Just a few feet foul. But he's way off the base there. I think he would have had that stolen base easily. Two balls and 1 strike. Here comes the next pitch. He's taken off again. This is hit out into left field. Should be playable. So J-Rod's going to have to go back to first base again. 2 down. Blanco flies out. Josh Naylor comes to the plate. Got me feeling young again right now. Yeah, it's interesting to think about all that stuff. That was peak Astros garbage years. Yeah, I remember those years. JD says, is it just me or the Mariners just better than the Tigers? Well, I figured that. Naylor hits it right back up the middle of the field. Finnegan's glove causes it to get deflected, but Torres is able to scoop it up and fire to first base to get the out. And that's out number 3, but Raleigh gets the RBI. So the Mariners are just kind of nickel and diming the Tigers. They've scored 1 in the second, 1 in the fourth, and now 1 in the fifth. It's 3-0. 6 hits for the Mariners, and I think 3. Let's see. No, just 2 hits for the Tigers. We go into the bottom of the fifth with the Tigers down by 3. Jay says when the Astros were having down years, I could see they were building. I don't see that with my Angels. Hmm. Dale says M's and Tigers seem evenly matched. Really depends on which team is hitting better at the moment. I feel like the M's are definitely better than the Tigers. I don't think that they're evenly matched at all. I know that the Tigers have some they have some good pitchers, but I think the difference is that when the when you really look at the hitters, if the Mariners good hitters, if they're playing to their full strength and the Tigers hitters are playing to their full strength, to me there's no comparison. The Mariners will just score a lot of runs and the Tigers can't keep up with that. That's what happened yesterday. So even though the Tigers made a late run, it was too late because they were destroyed. And so I just don't think that in a series they have a better chance in a wild card series because it's just, 2 games and you're through. They have less of a chance in a 5-game series, but I think in a 7-game series, the Tigers will never beat the Mariners as they stand right now. I think it would be impossible. The longer the series gets, the less of a chance the Tigers have to win. But I mean, look when you look at the Tigers stats. I mean, they had a good run. They started they started playing pretty well at a certain point, and it looked like they were awesome. But that wore off. The magic wore off. JD says we didn't have garbage years, a very long rebuild. Well, I would kind of consider those garbage years because it's like cleaning house. You clean house and you get everything sorted, and then you start redecorating, and that's what the Astros are doing. So I kind of see them as a similar thing. You know what I'm saying? Ryan says after seeing a lack of Tigers trade deadline activity, I knew they were cooked. That September slide was insane, though. Yes, it was. Magic wore off. First batter is Spencer Torkelson, takes the pitch in the bottom of the zone. Strike one. Bryce Miller back on the mound. 4 innings pitched so far. 45 pitches and 34 in the zone. He's given up 2 hits. Here's the pitch. Torkelson hits that one out into center field, and that'll be the 3rd hit of the game. Another leadoff hit for the Tigers. Let's see if they can actually build on it this time. McKinstry comes to the plate in just a moment. Ryan says they were a Framber Valdez trade away from a World Series. Who knows? William says the Tigers' collapse this year was due to their bullpen. I don't understand what happened. Yeah, I just feel like I agree. I think they're too thin in their pitching and hitting. If it's not there, they don't really have a chance. I mean, in a lot of ways, they're similar to the Astros. When they can't be carried by the starting pitching, there's no telling. The batters might not show up, and then they're cooked. It's 1-0 to McKinstry. Here's the pitch. Wow, that was above the zone, but the umpire liked it. 1 ball, 1 strike. Yeah, Fromber hit his catcher. He got crossed up with Cesar Salazar, the backup catcher, the backup catcher from minor leagues. He is the guy who hit him. Now they claim it was a cross up, and he apologized for it happening, but he never apologized for not showing any remorse to his catcher. That's my problem with Fromber. He never showed any remorse for his lack of sympathy on the mound. That's in there for strike 2. The count's 2-2 to McKinstry. Yeah, Ryan Fromber has, and early on in the season, when he had his little mental issues, minor mental issues. I defended him because he did so much better than he did last year. He learned to control it a lot better. There's a ground out, fielder's choice rather. They get Torkelson at second base, but McKinstry is going to be on with one out. Dylan Dingler comes to the plate with a runner on first and one out. Yeah, I was fine defending Fromber because he was pitching well the first half of the year, and not only that, he did actually improve a lot with his mental issues and control on the field. That's in the dirt. Ball one to Dingler. Raleigh is going to go out to the mound and have a little chit chat. Woodworth, the pitching coach, is coming out for Seattle. Hey, good job for the Detroit fans. They're not booing right now, despite the meeting on the mound. Good job, Detroit fans. I'm tired of hearing fans boo when there's a meeting on the mound, or when a batter calls timeout and steps out of the box, or whenever the pitcher throws over to first base to try to pick off the runner. I think these things are stupid. Booing for that is just completely retarded. I'm sorry. I will never be able to accept it. Some people say, well, that's just part of the game. You're supposed to boo. No, I'm sorry. It's retarded. It's stupid and retarded. Your own team does it. And most of the time, I would say the vast majority of the time, there's good reason. You might want to take a break. Maybe the pitcher needs a breather. I mean, there is a pitch clock. Sometimes they just take a step off the mound just to take a break. First pitch after the meeting on the mound is fouled off. 1-1 is the count. Well, Salazar is not the backup catcher. He's the backup guy. He's from the minors. Caratini's the backup catcher. The whole infield in the pitching coach were out there. 2 balls and 1 strike to Dingler. Here comes the pitch. That's hit hard out into left field, and it's going to be down, and it's going to get to the wall. The Tigers are probably going to have a run on the board. Difficult angle for him to get to. Dingler drives in a run for the Tigers. The meeting on the mound didn't work out. Maybe they should have left Bryce Miller alone. It's 3-1 Tigers with a double left center. And that's it. They're going to pull him out. So they have a meeting on the mound with Bryce Miller. And the result of that is he gives up a double and a run. And now they're going to pull him out. Maybe you can blame that on the coaches, not on Miller. He was doing just fine until they came out and had that meeting on the mound. And then he gives up the double and a run. And then they say, you know what? You're out. I think that was coaching error. Coaching error. That's hilarious. 3-1. 4 hits now for the Tigers. And the lead is cut to 2. Ryan says, I was at a game against the Mariners and Rangers, and he hit a batter directly after giving up a homer. He was bad both starts. Started 2 fights because of that. Yep. That's the thing, that's the kind of stuff you guys don't understand. You'll never see in Japan. If a batter gets hit, the pitcher is very apologetic about it. Nobody ever assumes that it was on purpose. Nobody gets upset about it. The teams don't rush out on the field. They don't yell at each other, for getting hit. They don't do any of that nonsense. This is just American BS is what it is. And there are a lot of things that, just baseball fans and baseball players do traditionally that they want their coaches to do. Like if there's some questionable calls by the umpire. They want their coach to come out of the out of the dugout and yell at the umpires and get thrown out of the game. And they that's all stupid to me. I've always thought that these things are stupid because they're just a bunch of grown men acting like children. And whenever a baseball fan tells me, "Oh, come on, that's part of the game," they should show some emotion. No, they should be in control of their emotions, and nobody will tell me otherwise. It literally is stupid. And like you're standing at the plate, you have two strikes, and then they throw a ball that's a couple of inches outside of the zone. Obviously, a ball, but the umpire rings you up for strike three, and you start yelling at the umpire, and he throws you out of the game. And people say, "Well, it's justified because the umpire." No, it's not justified. It's stupid. You just got thrown out of the game because you can't control your emotions. You act like a child. You're a man child. You're getting paid millions of dollars, and that's part of baseball. Part of baseball is the umpire makes bad calls, and you're never going to change it. The umpire is not going to suddenly say, "Oh, yeah, you're right. That was a ball. Let me change it." That's ripped down the line. Another hit and another run for the Tigers right off the bat. Jahmai Jones comes off the bench for Meadows and rips it down the line immediately for another double. Back-to-back doubles for the Tigers. So now check this out. So the coaches come out and have a meeting on the mound. Right after that, double run scored. They decide to go ahead and pull out their pitcher and put in Gabe Spear. Immediate result, double run scored. So the coaches have now given the Tigers 2 runs. 2 coaching errors. Coaching error in your favor. Collect 2 runs. It is 3-2. 5 hits now for the Tigers. Upstairs, Jahmai Jones almost drawing a throw to second base from Raleigh. He was way off, like he wanted to steal third. The crowd is finally alive and awake. They've been so silent this whole time. Fouled off at the plate. 1 ball, 1 strike. Javier Baez is 0 for 1 today with a pop out in the 3rd inning. 1 out, and he's got a teammate on second base. Are they going to be able to tie it up this inning? We'll see. Oh, they throw to second base. Ooh, a pickoff attempt. Almost got him. Jones has been taking some big leads at second base. They almost had him. Look how close this is. Almost got him. Woo, that was close. Good throw, good tag. 1 ball, 1 strike. Here comes the pitch to Baez. Right in there, 96 miles an hour. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Cal's tired of digging in the dirt, I bet. Run, Forrest. Good game, Bryce. Game's too important to risk the Tigers getting a streak going. I don't know, though. I would have left him in. I wouldn't have messed with him. Uh-oh, that might be gone. That's hit hard to left field. Ooh, it's foul by just maybe inches or a foot or two. That was close. Baez almost takes the lead with a 2-run shot. That was close. 108 miles an hour. He destroyed that ball. Are they going to show how close it was? Okay, it was further than that. From the camera angle, that looked to be about 6 feet from the pole. Another one in the dirt for Raleigh to dig out. The count is 2 balls and 2 strikes to Baez. Yeah, Ryan says, if I'm being real, that's Latin baseball ideology. It feels rare to see American or Asian players purposely hit someone with a fastball. I'll tell you what, Latin American baseball, man, that's hit up the middle. It's going to tie the game. Jahmai Jones will score easily. It's 3-3. The Tigers get an RBI single by Baez, and they have scored 3 runs in 1 inning to erase that lead and restart this game. We're an official reset, guys, in Detroit. The fans are going crazy. They finally have something to cheer about. The Tigers have awoken. Gabe Spear comes into the game, so the coaches make multiple moves in this inning, and it seems like the Tigers have made every single move by the coaches pay. Hilarious. But yeah, Ryan, what you're saying is I feel like the Latin American baseball is out of control, man. They easily get into fights. They show way too much emotion. They act like children, very spoiled children. I can't stand this stupid rivalry. And if they're from different countries, different Latin American countries, it's even worse. They really hate each other. Here's the pitch. 95 right in there. Strike one to Kerry Carpenter. Dale says, so much for wishful thinking. That's right. It's funny because every move that the coaches made this inning on the Mariners have hurt them, actually. Here's a steal attempt. He's in there. No problem. Cal Raleigh's not even close on that throw. Must have been a good jump or a slow relay. But Baez steals second base, and the Tigers have another runner in scoring position with Kerry Carpenter at the plate. 1-1 is the count with one out. The inning's not over yet. Do you attend KBL, JPL games? Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss. Way high. I don't know why he was swinging at that one. 1-2 strikes to Carpenter. You talking about Japan League games, Ryan? Every once in a while, I'll go to a Hiroshima Carp baseball game, but I really haven't had the money in a long time since I've been sick. One ball, two strikes. Here's the pitch to Carpenter. He fouls that one off. Count remains 1-2. Dale says almost had a stroke there. Yeah, with that homer. Almost homer. Gritty Tigs are back. The Tigers. The Tigers. The Detroit Tigers. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Here's a 1-2. Pop foul again. Hey, Brendan. Brendan wants to know if I'm doing the preseason for the Rockets tonight. I'll be doing the Yankees and Blue Jays game. I think there's a time clash there, right? So I won't be able to do the Rockets preseason. This is tapped down the first base side. It could be trouble. Whoa. A little bit of a collision by Carpenter and Josh Naylor. Naylor has to scoop it up and make the tag. And Carpenter was running his butt off like a train. It was like tagging a train there. A little bit of a collision. Check this out. Wow. Carpenter lost it and went, look at this. He loses it and falls down. At least, yeah, Carpenter was all right. He was laughing about it after he got up, so it's all good. But now they got a runner on third with two outs. Baez gets over to third on that play. Gleyber Torres comes to the plate with an opportunity. No, they're going to walk him. They intentionally walk Gleyber Torres. So runners are on the corners with two outs. Gabe Spear on the mound for the Mariners. 13 pitches, 10 in the zone. He has two outs and two runners on the corners. It's 3-3 right now. The Tigers have come back and tied it up, scoring 3 runs in one inning. Colt Keith at the plate. He taps it over to Josh Naylor, who takes it himself, of course. Easy play at first for out number 3. But the Tigers even up not only the hits, but also the runs. 6 hits total for each team and 3 runs total. It's a reset game. We are done with 5 innings of baseball. The Tigers finally start getting some runs, and we got a ball game going into the top of the 6th. What a game. Yeah, crazy, Jay, isn't it? Kevin Durant first Rockets game. Oh yeah, I'd love to see that game, Brendan, but I think that it's going to clash with the next ALDS game, the Yankees and the Blue Jays. So I'm still working on my scoreboard, by the way. My my basketball scoreboard for the live stream. I'm still working on that. That's not finished yet. I haven't been able to do it because doing 2 games a day. I'm really glad that I don't have to do this anymore after the playoffs because it's really wearing me down. It's not good for my health. It's not good for me. And but because of that, it's kind of mentally exhausted me too. So getting my Rockets, Houston Rockets scoreboard built, doing the HTML, the JavaScript, and the style sheets. I mean, my my NFL scoreboard, I created this scoreboard for the NFL. It's beautiful, right? I worked with the AI to create this. It's a really awesome live scoreboard. So on NFL game day, all of these scores update, and whenever there's a new score, it flashes like on the screen. It flashes green or something. It's a wonderful scoreboard. And then I've got my Texans game overlay. So whenever I'm calling the Texans game, this is what it looks like. Um, and of course, in the bottom, it has score updates of the other games, and it cycles through all of the other NFL games. Very professional, good layouts. And on this football field that you see here, the uh, the football moves up and down the field as the team moves the ball up and down the field, and the icon for the team who has possession appears next to the ball. It's I still want to make it better and make more animations so that when there's like a pass or a run or a complete pass or an incomplete pass, etc. For all of these different plays, I want to get these overlaid animations, but it just takes a really really long time to build those. And I want to build another scoreboard. You'll notice like this is my scoreboard right now for the baseball games, right? By the way, Suarez is at the plate. He takes that first pitch in there for strike one. But this is my baseball scoreboard, and it's different than my football scoreboard. And of course, the basketball scoreboard will be even different. But first of all, I have to decide all of the data that I want to put on the screen, and then I have to decide the layout that I want and the color scheme that I want, and I have to build all of that and work with the AI to make it happen. It takes some time, and I've just been too tired doing 2 and 3 games a day between baseball and football. But with the playoffs, I've been doing 2 games a day, and the other day with the Texans, I did 3 in one day. That's a lot. Swing and a miss, 98 miles an hour. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Eugenio Suarez. Mitch Garver's on deck, and Robles is in the hole. Troy Melton is on the mound for the Tigers here in the top of the 6th. Here's the next pitch. Tapped right back to Melton, and he lobs it over to first base to get Suarez on the easy tapper. 1 down. Carver up next. But I do promise you, Brendan, that I will get that going as quickly as I can because I'm looking forward to doing the Rockets games. I think that those are going to be actually the most challenging because, you know, there's so many names and the ball moves around so fast. I've got to get familiar with all of the players that are going to be in the game. I've got to do a little research. I don't know much about all of the players, and especially for the other team, but that's right in there. Strike one to Luke Rayleigh. Rayleigh is in for Garver. No, I'm sorry. He's in for Garver, who was in for Canzone. That's in there. 98 miles an hour, strike two. There's a pitch. High and outside, 1-2. Ryan says, I hate how political U.S. sports have become, but looking at Latin baseball feels like gang wars sometimes. Yeah, I agree 100%. It's stupid. Sometimes it's just completely retarded. And nobody seems to mind, right? The fans, I mean, that's a swing and a miss. Strikeout for Rayleigh. He goes down, and Robles is due up next. One down for Milton and the Tigers here in the top of the sixth. Ryan says it's exciting, but if you piss off the wrong person, yeah, that's the thing. And everybody comes out, and they are real fast. I mean, you can see whole team brawls in Latin America. You can see both teams out on the field, and everybody's fighting and beating the crap out of each other, bloody noses. It's so dangerous and so stupid. It is a complete cultural difference. It's different from America, and in Japan, it's even more different here. You'll never see anything like that in Japan, unless Japan starts bringing in a lot of Latin American players. 0-2 suddenly is the count to Victor Robles. He takes the first two pitches in there. There's the toss. A check swing, and they say he did not swing. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Brendan says, I hope the Blue Jays win tonight. I think they will. Professionals are saying the Rockets won't win more than 48 games. What's their justification for that, Ryan? Doesn't make any sense. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Robles. Here's the toss. A little low. Good take. Good call by the umpire, too. That was below the zone. Full count. Daryl, I'm okay. How are you? Here comes the full count pitch. Ball 4, right below the zone. The crowd boos. They wanted a strike, but that was a good call by the ump, about an inch below the zone. Brendan says they're even better this year. Those professionals are idiots. Yeah, I can't say that I know the Rockets as deeply as I know the Astros, that's for sure, but I don't have the impression that they're going to do poorly. Actually, from what I can tell, a lot of Houston fans are hopeful about this year, about this basketball season. 1-0. Here's the count. Here's the pitch. Throw the first. Torkelson puts the tag on, but the throw is just a little to the right. They almost get Robles. They almost pick him off. If the throw had been there, they would have gotten him. It was close. Woo! Oh, he missed him with the tag, too. Almost got him. 1 ball, 1 strike. Here comes a toss. That's hit out into left field, opposite field line drive, and he's going to have to scoop it in the grass. J.P. Crawford has a hit. Robles goes to second base. So the Mariners have 2 on with 2 outs. With Randy Rosarena, the top of the batting order, due up. Green did what he could to try to catch it. Just a little short. Makes me wonder why he didn't dive forward for it. First pitch is in there for strike 1. Daryl says, okay, my back is bugging me today, but other than that, it's going okay. That's good. I hope your back gets to feeling better. Just try to get comfortable. I know it's hard sometimes when you have a back issue. Sometimes I sleep wrong and my neck will bother me for days and I can't move it around very well. It's crazy. It's like, man, what did I do suddenly to make it hurt so bad? That's hit high in the air on the 0-2 pitch. Melton gets a shutdown inning. He gives up a couple of hits, gets a couple of runners on, but he manages to get through it. So the Mariners threaten, but come away with nothing in the top of the 6th. 1 hit, actually. 7 hits for the Mariners, 6 for the Tigers, and the game's tied 3-3 going into the bottom of the 6th. Tigers with an opportunity to take the lead. Ryan says, to be honest, I don't follow basketball, but locals at least are expecting 56 to 60 wins. 60 sounds high to me, but I don't know. What do they play, like 80 something games? '82 regular season games. That's right. I knew it was 80 something. Just couldn't remember exactly how many. I need to go in here and relieve myself right quick. I'm not going to be able to wait to the 7th inning. I'm going to do the 6th inning stretch. I'll be right back, guys and gals. Gabe Spear might still be on the mound for the Mariners. Riley Green is due up. I'll be right back. Game statistics say that the Tigers have a 61% chance to score again in this game. We'll see. First pitch is a ball to McKinstry. That's hit hard into right field. It's gone. It's a no-doubter to right field. McKinstry with a home run on the second. I'm sorry, Riley Green. My bad. Riley Green is at the plate. Riley Green, of course, is the one who hits the homer out to right field on the second pitch of the 6th inning, and he gives the Tigers the lead 4-3. 454 feet. Holy cow, 112 miles an hour exit velocity. That was a blast right there. Holy cow. And immediately the coach comes out to the mound to have a little chit-chat. He might be pulling Gabe out of the game. Yep, that's it. It's going to be it for Gabe Spear. Riley Green knocks him out of the game on one swing, the very first swing of the inning. On the second pitch. Wow. 4-3 Tigers. 7 hits for each team, and that gives me an opportunity to pour myself another drink. Let's see here. What do we got in the chat? By the way, I haven't said anything about liking the live stream or subscriptions or memberships. I did want to let you guys and gals know, if you believe in the channel and what I'm doing here and you're willing to support it for a very, very low amount, my memberships are available. My cheapest membership, I think, is less than $2 a month. It's almost nothing. But as my subscribers go up, if a decent percentage of my subscribers just join as members, then it would greatly help sustain the channel. It's just an option for some people. I think that the vast majority of everybody out there could afford $2 a month to have a membership. As my channel grows, I mean, if the channel just had 1,000 members, that alone would be more salary than I can make as a teacher here in Japan, because the US dollar is a lot stronger than the yen. So getting a dollar, you basically multiply that times 1.5. Many years ago, 1,000 yen was like $10. But now $10 is like 1,500 yen. So basically 1.5 times the value. So US dollar donations go a long way for me and really help me a lot. Unfortunately, I would have to be making probably $6,000 a month in order to afford the regular trips to the hospital and the medicines that they want to give me, because I don't have insurance. Um, but right now, the main thing is to just pay my bills, pay my debts. I still have a lot of debts, medical debts, and to buy the vitamins and supplements that I need to help support my health. So your donations, your memberships, and all of those things are helpful. I do have PayPal and Buy Me a Coffee links, and those are much better, especially PayPal. PayPal is actually the best. I know that some people don't like it, but the fact of the matter is, PayPal only takes about 3% of your donation, and I get it immediately into my account. I could use it today. It's super fast, and they take the least amount. That's hit to the left side. That's a fair ball. Another hit for the Tigers. That's Spencer Torkelson. He heads to second base with a double. Wow. Tigers still rolling here. The fifth and the sixth, they have come alive at the plate. Edward Bizzardo is on the mound for the Mariners. Look at this. They call that fair. Let's take a look. That's strange. Wow. So they're looking at where it went over the bag, where it landed past the bag. I I don't know about that. Suarez was saying that was foul, but that's a non-reviewable play. I don't understand exactly why they called that one fair, but okay. Suarez was saying it was foul, but you can't review it. Once again, it's a non-reviewable play. Okay, so basically it was bounced right out of the box, and they looked at it as it was going over the bag to see if it was fair, and they say it was fair, but it's debatable. Let's just hit down the right side, and that's another hit all the way onto right field. They're going to wave him around. Here's the throw. The throw is off. McKinstry stays at first base, and that's another hit and another RBI. It's 5-3. Man, the Tigers are hitting the ball right now. How about that? Throw over to first base, and McKinstry gets back. Dingler at the plate. Bizzardo's still on the mound. 7 pitches now, 4 in the zone. He's given up a couple of hits and now an earned run. Runner on first base with no outs. A little low and outside. Ball 1 to Dingler. 95 miles an hour at the bottom of the zone, just a little low. 2-0 is the count to Dingler. Ryan says, I wish I could upload a screenshot. I called the Astros season before it started. 88 wins. They finished one short and missed playoffs. It's funny because just one more game, just one more, they would have beaten the Tigers and they'd be in the playoffs instead. Just one game. That's why it's so important to win, you know? Every game is important. You don't want to be in a position at the end of the year where you have to win basically all of your last few games in order to get in. You should have done that earlier in the year. Shouldn't even be in a position like that. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Dingler. I picked the Mariners to win the series, but I'll take an L. Hey, look at that. Bizzardo throws over to first base. McKinstry thinks he's safe. AJ Hinch might challenge that. He's hanging out. What in the world are they doing over there? Are they going to challenge it? Yeah, they're going to challenge it. Bizzardo makes the pickoff move to first base. Can't see from that angle. Going to need another angle. Can't see from that angle either. It looks like he's out. I think they're going to lose their challenge here. So we're waiting for the challenge at first base to see if he's thrown out or not. Call on the field is confirmed. He's out. So McKinstry is thrown out at first base by Bizzardo. And no base runners are left on. 1 out. Dingler with a 2-2 count. Yeah. In basketball, you just have to not suck to make the playoffs. Almost everybody makes it. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Almost everyone makes it. It's not too difficult to get in the playoffs. Winning the playoffs. Ooh, strike 3 on the slider. Dingler didn't like it. Has a few words with the umpire about it, but that's out number 2. So the rally's kind of been killed really quickly there. They were doing really well. McKinstry gets thrown out at first base by Bizzardo. Winsel Perez is pinch hitting for Jones, who is pinch hitting for Meadows. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Swing and a miss, 0-2. Ryan says MLB is almost there too. Outside. MLB needs 100 games a year. And to just get rid of the wild card. I don't like the wild card. Just win 2 games and you're in. I don't like it. Here's the pitch. A team with a garbage record can win the wild card and then manage to work really hard and get a little lucky and win the 5-game series and actually get into the league championship series, and if they're even luckier, get into the World Series. And I don't agree with that because they're clearly not the best team. You know, that's hit out into right field all the way to the wall. Extra bases for Winsel Perez. So throwing that guy out on first base might have just saved another run for Bizzardo and the Mariners. But the Tigers have another guy in scoring position this inning with 2 outs. And Javier Baez comes to the plate. Brendan wants to know if I've seen any kachu. Now, this are you talking about some kind of armor? Is that what you're talking about? Do you mean like samurai armor? Is that what you're talking about? First pitch is a ball to Baez. He's got an RBI single in the fifth and a stolen base so far this game. Bottom of the sixth right now with 2 outs, runner on second. Here's the pitch. He hits that one hard. It could be gone. It is. It's gone. That's a 2-run homer. It's 7-3 Tigers. They have blown the game open. Javier Baez. 2-run blast. I got out quick. The Tigers fans are going crazy. It's starting to look like this series is going to be tied. Holy freaking cow. That could have been a 3-run homer if they had picked that guy off at first. It's crazy. Every single move that the coaches have made on the Mariners after, the starting pitcher for the Mariners had everything going just fine. And then from the time they talked to him on the mound until now, every decision that the coaches have made on the Mariners side have bitten them in the butt. 7-3 with 2 outs. Carpenter at the plate takes that first pitch in there for ball 1. Wow. Here's a pitch. 97 on the inside edge. Strike. Oh, that's strike 2. That first pitch was in there for a strike. 0-2 is the count to Kerry Carpenter. Runner on no base. The runners have been cleared off the base by Baez. One ball and 2 strikes. But yeah, Brendan, there are some places you can see samurai armor, mostly in museums and places like that. There is a shop not far from here, about an hour from here by car, that sells authentic weapons, and they have an authentic suit of armor. That's going to end the inning right there. A fly ball to center field, but a couple of blasts. Riley Green, Javier Baez, and some other little hits. The Tigers have tacked on 4 more runs, and they're leading this game 7-3 with 11 hits to the Mariners 7. We go to the top of the 7th. The Tigers are really scrapping right now, suddenly. From the time the Mariners talked to their starter to the time they pulled him, during that time, the Tigers just turned this game around. Nothing that the coaches have done has worked. 7 runs scored in 2 innings. That's crazy. We're on break right now. We'll be back in the top of the 7th in just a moment. But you'll be interested to know, Brendan, that I actually found a katana, a World War II katana in this house. After I bought this house, I had to come in and start doing some cleaning. The family left a lot of stuff in here. I found a lot of old things. I found some things that are over 100 years old and some things that are antique, some antique furniture. I found bits and pieces of old katanas. The cross guard, what's called a tsuba in Japanese, but it's the cross guard. I found some old katana cross guards, but I found a complete katana that was a World War II soldier's katana. And one of the men in this family, he was actually part of the kamikaze corps, and his picture standing in front of he was a pilot, and he was standing in front of his plane. His picture and some of his medals were in the picture frame. were hanging right in there in the other room. They had like this family altar. It's called a Butsudan, but it's a Buddhist family altar. It's a very big piece of furniture, very big. And inside they have pictures, and above it they have pictures to remember people in the family who passed away. And there were three pictures above the Butsudan: picture of the grandfather, the grandmother, and then a picture of a young man who was a kamikaze pilot in the war, in World War II. Those things were still hanging above the Butsudan, but this house had been abandoned for basically almost 30 years when I bought it. It's been neglected and just kind of left to rot, and they left so many things here. Cal Raleigh is at the plate. He takes a whiff at the first, or takes a swing rather, at the first pitch, and he lines out, or I'm sorry, lines out. I'll get it out. He flies out to shortstop. That's one down. J Rod comes to the plate next with one down, nobody on. I can't sell the sword. Japan has strict laws about swords, and I had to turn the blade into the police. Actually, I couldn't keep it. I was able to keep the sheath, the handle, the crossguard, the balancers, every piece of the sword I was able to keep except for the blade. I wasn't able to keep that. Rodriguez fouls it off. 0-2 is the count. They got really strict laws here about blades. And if I had found an antique sword, you might think a World War II sword is an antique sword, but it doesn't. As a swing and a miss, J Rod strikes out, and that's two down. Two up and two down. Troy Melton's still on the mound for the Tigers. The traditional way to make a Japanese katana is is like a blacksmith, right? They beat it down, they fold it, they beat it down, they fold it, they beat it down, they fold it. They make it by hand. That's the traditional way. But many katanas during World War II were made by machines, or at least partially made by machines, and that's not considered a traditional Japanese method. And so those swords cannot be registered and kept. They're considered illegal items, illegal weapons. So if you find something like that, you're supposed to report it to the police. I could have I could have hidden it and kept it secret, but what's the point in that? Because if the police ever found out that I had it, I could get in a lot of trouble. If I'm a Japanese person, I think I probably would have kept it and just hidden it, because that's what the family did. 0-2 pitch is right in there on the outside edge for strike three. Three pitches to Jorge Polanco and three strikes. Three up and three down. Absolutely nothing doing for the Mariners in the top of the seventh. Wow. Bizardo might be back up on the mound for the Mariners in the bottom of the seventh. Gleyber Torres, I believe, is due up. Yep, Gleyber Torres, Colt Keith, and Riley Green. But anyway, long story short, I had the blade examined, and they determined that some machining had been used in the process to make it, and so I was not able to keep that sword. But I was able to keep all of the other parts. So that's sad, but that's the way it goes. Watch the Brewers put up a touchdown in 2 innings again. I sure hope they do. Angel says no multitasking dual stream today. You did pretty good yesterday. Yeah, I don't have to do it today because I'm not doing the NL games, right? I mean, I can pull up the other game. If you guys want, I can check it out and see what's going on over there. I can definitely pull the game up and see what the Brewers are doing with the curbs. If they're kicking them to the curb. Let's see. Slow loading game. Bottom of the first. Brewers trying to score early on the curbs. Well, it looks like the Cubs have come back. And they got one run on the board, and they got two runners up with Suzuki Seiya. By the way, Suzuki Seiya played with the Hiroshima Carp. Everybody around here was sad to see him go because he was a great player. He was the best player on the carp. He's a really good player. 1-1 in the bottom of the first, apparently. Milwaukee up in that series 2-0. We are on commercial break right now for the Mariners and the Tigers. They'll be back in just a moment with the bottom of the seventh. Thea facing Quinn Priester, looks like. They got 2 runners on and 1 out. Suzuki Seiya hits it way up in the sky and out of play. You know, this is another example of I really, really like the player, but I can't stand the team he's on. Why can't the Astros have Suzuki Seiya or Otani? Why can't we get those guys? 99 miles an hour. Carlos Vargas is now on the mound for the Mariners. He is facing Gleyber Torres. Here's the pitch. That's hit hard out to right field, deep into right. And it's going to be gone. Are you kidding me? Gleyber Torres with an opposite field home run. It is 8-3. Wow. Solo homer right off the bat from Gleyber Torres. It is 8-3. They are destroying the Mariners now. I want to see this at bat by Seiya. Seiya hits it out into right field deep in the corner. Is it caught? Wow. What a catch. A tag. They got runners on the corners with 2 outs. Seiya flies out, but that was a good catch out in left field. All right. Back to our main event. Strike 1 to Colt Keith. There's that home run by Torres. Just a high fastball. And he lifts it right over the fence, right over the pizza sign in right field. Second pitch is in the bottom of the zone. 0-2 is the count. Once again, every single move that the Mariners coaches have made, every time they talk to a pitcher or bring in a new pitcher, the Detroit Tigers just make them pay. There's this home run. Look at that. Here's the pitch. Grounded to first. Naylor's got it, and he's going to take it for out number 1. Colt Keith goes down. Riley Green comes to the plate. He's got himself a home run so far. Brendan says poor Mariners have such bad luck in the playoffs. Yeah, they do. Man, they're going to be a little scared. They lose this game, and it's looking like they're going to. They're down by 5. Green hits this one pretty deep out in left center field. Wow, almost gave up another homer to Green. That was a deep hit ball. J-Rod is able to pull it in. Looks like there's a little bit of a battle going on at the plate right now between Priester and Happ. Runners on the corners. 1-1 is the score for the Cubs and the Brewers. Next pitch in there to Torkelson is a strike. 0-1 is the count with 2 outs and nobody on. Vargas still on the mound for the Mariners. Swing and a miss there. 99 miles an hour. 0-2. Full count here to Happ. Ball 4 on the outside. Bases are loaded for the Cubs with 2 outs. That one's fouled off by Torkelson. 2 outs. Here in the bottom of the 7th, Carlos Vargas on the mound dealing. That's ripped out into left field and just foul. Holy cow. That was almost a double. Let's see what the Curbs are doing here. So right now, Carson Kelly is batting for the Cubs in the first inning. They've got bases loaded, but with just one out. I thought they had two outs. Here's the pitch. Fouls it off. Okay, that's interesting. Here's the next pitch from Vargas to Torkelson. Fouls it off. Count remains 0-2. Looks like the cut. Oh, that was foul. Woo, that was close. Kelly almost with a couple of RBIs there. Two outs, no balls, and two strikes to Torkelson. Here's the pitch. He fouls it off again. Torkelson just keeps fouling them off. Cubs almost got some extra runs. That was just barely foul. It's a bit of a jam for Priester. Let's see if he gets out of it. Torkelson fouls off another pitch, by the way. Count remains 0-2 against Vargas. 12 hits now for the Tigers. That's crazy. 7 hits for the Mariners. Here comes the pitch. Low and outside. Ball 1. 1-2 is the count. Priester is ahead in the count to Carson Kelly. 1-2 with bases loaded, but only one out. Torkelson just keeps fouling the ball off. The count's 1-2. Here comes the next pitch from Vargas. That's popped up again, but this time it's going to be fair. Suarez calls it, and he's got it for out number 3. Almost 12 pitches at that at bat. Now it looks like Kelly strikes out with bases loaded, and that's 2 outs. Pete Crow Armstrong now at the plate. They say he went around on that first pitch. So we're on break right now with the Tigers and Mariners. Going into the top of the 8th, Josh Naylor will lead off the batting. So we'll check out this situation with the Cubs and the Brewers. 2 outs in the first inning with bases loaded. The Cubs have tied it up 1-1. Quinn Priester has thrown 36 pitches in the first inning. 20 in the strike zone. The count is 0-1 against Pete Crow Armstrong. Here's the toss with bases loaded in the dirt. Brendan says, let's hope no Dodgers, no Yankees in the World Series this year. Absolutely, I agree. And no Cubs for me. No Dodgers, no Yankees, no Cubs. None of those. Here's the pitch. In the dirt. Come on, Brewers. 2 balls and 1 strike to Armstrong. Detroit 8, Mariners 3. We're currently on the break, so we're taking a look at the Brewers-Cubs game in the first. That's hit hard in the right field. It'll be down. The Cubs are going to score another run, maybe 2. They bring it in quick, but that's going to score 2 runs, including Kyle Tucker. It's 3-1 Cubs in the first inning. It's still not too bad. They got runners on the corners now, but 2 outs. If they can shut it down here, it'll only be a 2-run lead. Jason says, why do we have to make it harder on ourselves? It's a good question. Good question. Jason says we're blowing it. Why can't we get anything nice in the playoffs? Jay says pitching is supposed to be Mariners' strength. Look at that, guys. They're going to take Priester out of the game. Quinn Priester, the starting pitcher for the Brewers, is being pulled out of the game with Dansby Swanson due up. So they're going to take a break while they switch pitchers. Back to the main event for us right now. Naylor hits the first pitch into center field, and that'll be down for a single. He continues to have a good game. The Mariners have 6 outs to mount a 5-inning comeback. Will Vest is warming up in the bullpen. Troy Melton is on the mound up to 29 pitches with 22 in the zone. Naylor's on first base with no outs. Eugenio Suarez at the plate takes the first pitch in there for strike one, 97 miles an hour. Yeah, I think that they're not going to keep Melton in there for too long. Here's the pitch. Suarez bounces it to third. Could be a double play. Low throw to second, and they get him at first. Double play for Melton and the Tigers in the top of the 8th. Eugenio Suarez grounds out to McKinstry. Nobody on base for Luke Raley. That's in there for strike one, 98 miles an hour, low and away. Here's the 1-1 pitch from Melton. Outside. Luke Raley at the plate with nobody on. 2 outs here in the top of the 8th. Mariners down by 5. That's crazy. Hit high in the air. Yep. They put it away. Fly out to the shortstop in shallow left center field. And that's it in the 8th inning for the Mariners. 3 up and 3 down. Just like that. Double play. Naylor gets a hit, but he's erased with a double play by Suarez. And then Raley flies out to the infield. On break now, we're going to the bottom of the 8th, so we're going to take a look at the Brewers and Cubs again. Nick Mears is the new pitcher for the Brewers. He throws a wild pitch, and they're going to score another run. The Cubs are going to take a 3-run lead, 4-1. Both runners advance. So the Cubs now have a runner on second base with 2 outs. Wild pitch from Mears, the reliever, in the first inning. Sure hope the Brewers go crazy with the bats today because they're going to need it. They're already down by 3 in the first inning. Holy cow. Jason says, yeah, I know we've beaten the Tigers 3 times with Scoop on the mound. However, my confidence in us is shaken a little bit. Yeah, they're going to have to be consistent, 1-0 pitch to Swanson. That's in there for a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. The Brewers trying their best to get out of this first inning. They scored first, had bases loaded, and did not come away with any extra runs. The Cubs started getting runs, loaded the bases, and they've been benefiting. They've already got 4 runs and knocked out the starting pitcher. Mears is in, threw a wild pitch, gave up a run. Swanson is at the plate with 2 balls and 1 strike. Cubs only have 3 hits. Here's a pitch. That's hit hard to left field all the way out. That might be gone. Woo, just barely foul. Absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. Yeah, Jay, I'm kind of covering it right now. Three balls and two strikes. It's a full count to Swanson. The Cubs fans are praying, standing and praying, looking for more runs. They're being greedy right now. Give me more, they say. Look at all the Cubs fans standing up back there. Timeout called by Swanson. Bottom of the eighth coming up. The Tigers are back at the plate. Leadoff batter Zach McKinstry. Carlos Vargas still on the mound. Opposite field, foul ball. Strike one for McKinstry. Opposite field, foul ball again. This one high off into the stands. 0-2 is the count to McKinstry. Bryce Miller for the Mariners today gave up 4 hits, 2 runs, ultimately. The runs that were scored weren't necessarily all on him, but they were credited with him, 2 of those. But he didn't have a bad 4 innings, 4 1/3. It wasn't until the 5th inning that he actually got a little shaky. But as soon as they came out and talked to him, he gave up a run. As soon as they came out and talked to him. Here's the pitch. A little high. Full count. Little bit of a battle going on at the plate right now between Mears and Swanson. It's been a full count for like 5 minutes. Brewers trying so hard to get out of that first inning. They've thrown about 50 pitches between 2 pitchers. Here comes the full count pitch to McKinstry. He hits that out into center field for another base hit. That's 13 hits now, Baker's dozen for the Tigers. Leadoff hitter is on base here in the bottom of the 8th. Looks like the Cubs have another guy on base. 2 runners on with 2 outs. First inning is a nightmare right now for the Brewers, at least for the defense. Pitch to Dingler is fouled off. 0-1 is the count. It's another foul ball by Dingler. The count is 0-2. McKinstry is on first base here in the bottom of the 8th for the Tigers. Dingler is at the plate with an 0-2 count. No outs. Winsel Perez on deck. Just at the bottom of the zone. Could have been a strike. Called ball 1. 1-2 is the count. That's a dangerous pitch to be taken with 2 strikes. Brendan wants to know if I think Christian Walker is gone next season. I think there's a 50% chance that he's gone. It depends on what kind of a deal and how much money the Astros would have to eat and what kind of guy they get in return. So it's possible. I'm not going to say it's definite or it's definitely not going to happen. It's possible. But I think it's just a 50-50 chance. The stars would have to align just right for us to trade Walker or get rid of him. Here's the pitch. Low and outside is a little wild. McKinstry's easily going to get to second. He's around heading to third, but he goes back to second as Raleigh grabs the ball. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Dingler. No outs and now runner in scoring position for the Tigers. The Brewers finally get out of the inning against the Cubs, but it's 4-1. What a long inning. So much drama right now. Yesterday and today. Fouled off again at the plate, 98 miles an hour. The count stays 2-2. Brendan, if you can make one move with the Astros, what move would that be? For example, like if there's one player or coach that you could get, not necessarily by name, but by position, a good solid player, a good solid coach, what move would you make for the Astros? That is ball 3. The count is full to Dylan Dingler with McKinstry on second. No outs. Here's the toss. Low and outside. That's ball 4. Tigers have 2 runners on now in the bottom of the 8th. It's starting to look like we're going to have a game 5, guys. Guys and gals. We're going to be back here on Saturday. Well, for you guys and gals, it'll be Friday, but for me, it'll be Saturday. I've got another live stream to do for the Mariners and the Tigers. That's what it's looking like. Get Lance Berkman to be hitting coach? Really? That's funny. Might not be a bad idea, though. Jay says, are you from Houston? You don't sound Texan. Where do you think I'm from, Jay? Where does it sound like I'm from? For those of you who know, don't say anything. For those of you who know where I'm from, don't say anything. I'm interested to see what you think. But yeah, you're right. I don't sound Texan. John says Midwest. That's what most people say. Winslow Perez is at the plate with no outs, runners on first and second. 13 hits for the Tigers here in the bottom of the 8th. Jay says Colorado. I've heard that before. Brendan says medical staff, better medical staff altogether. I was wondering if you might say that. That might be the biggest improvement that the Astros need right there. Maybe that's why the Astros can't hit the ball consistently, because they're always in pain. This has been a long break. What are we waiting on? I guess do we have a new pitcher or something? I don't think so. Why the long break? Okay, yeah, Luke Jackson is on the mound. They just didn't change it on the screen, and they haven't been showing him warm up. So there has been a pitching change. Yeah, Jay says, just not Texan. Paul says, someone said, you sound like you're from the north to me while I was in Houston. I mean, I guess Austin is north of Houston somewhat. Yeah, I guess it is north. North Texas, or more north. More north. Jay says California. Oh my God, no, I'm not from California. Thank goodness. Here comes a pitch. That's hit out into left field, all the way out to the warning track. Whoa, did he make that catch? A Rosarena with a beautiful catch. There's a tag. McKinstry goes to third. Runners on the corners with 1 out, but Rosarena makes a fantastic catch on the run. That was a deep shot by Perez. And he caught that in the sun. Look at this. In the sun, looking back, no sunglasses. Look, how did he make that catch? McKinstry was wise to wait. because, man, he very easily could have just ran thinking that there was no way he's going to make that. But runners on the corners for the Tigers, one out. Right in there for strike one to Javier Baez, who's got a nice day today with a single, a 2-run homer, 3 RBIs, and a stolen base. He's living the dream right now. Here's the pitch. High. 1-1. Yes, Jay, the standard American accent. That's right. That's what I've always tried to have. Ever since I was a kid, I basically wanted to have the standard American accent with no real regional. I mean, there's always a little influence. You can't completely get rid of all of it unless you're constantly thinking about the way you sound, you know. There's some vocabulary that I don't typically use, and pronunciation that I don't typically use, and grammar when I speak that I don't use. This is a bouncing ball to Suarez. They're going to go for a double play, and he's safe at first base, so they're going to score another run. McKinstry scores on the fielder's choice. 9-3. Javi Baez gets another RBI, beats the throw to first base. 2 outs. What, you don't say pop? Nope, I don't say pop. I might say soda, but I don't, some people say Coke for everything, right? When they're talking about pop or soda, they might say, "Hey, do you want a Coke?" But they don't necessarily mean Coca-Cola, right? It could be like Sprite or something else, root beer. First pitch is a strike to Kerry Carpenter. Runner on first base with 2 outs. Luke Jackson on the mound for the Mariners. Here's the pitch. Lone outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Yeah, I think many years ago, I just thought it doesn't make any sense to use Coke to refer to all soda. I know a lot of people do that, but I used to do that, but I stopped doing that because I got to thinking about it. I was like, it doesn't make any sense because if you look at the menu, or wherever you're at, you're going to get a drink. You've got like orange soda and Sprite or 7 Up and root beer and Coca-Cola and Dr. Pepper, Mountain Dew. They're not Coke. They're soda or pop, whatever you want to call it. Here comes a 1-2 pitch. He hits that high in the air. Rodriguez is underneath it in center field, and he puts it away for out number 3. But the Tigers get another run on the board. That's 4 straight innings of runs scored for the Tigers. 3 in the 5th, 4 in the 6th, and then 1 in the 7th and the 8th. It's 9-3. A 6-run lead going into the top of the 9th. The Mariners are about to go down game 4. How about that? Let's take a look at the Cubs game right quick. Doesn't look like it's going very well for the Brewers at the moment. It's in the top of the 2nd. Nobody on and 2 outs. But anyway, just to answer your question, my mom and most of my mom's family are from Houston and Texas, but mostly in Houston and in the Houston area. My dad is from Stanley, Louisiana. It's very countryside. And most of his family is kind of in that area. Mansfield, Stanley, if you know where that's at in Louisiana. Looks like the Cubs get out of the 2nd inning without any damage done. No runners, 3 up and 3 down, basically. It's 4-1 Cubs going into the bottom of the 2nd. But the closest larger city, the medium-sized city, the closest city to where my dad is from is Shreveport in northwest Louisiana. And of course, my mom, to this day, I don't even really know how my mom and dad met. I really don't even know that. I don't know how and where they met. but my mom was very beautiful. She was a cheerleader in high school, and she went to um, what's the what's the high school she went to? She went to a really popular sports high school, and she was a very popular cheerleader. And her high school sweetheart got her pregnant right after she finished. She was quite young at the time. I think she was in her 20s, maybe young 20s, and she got pregnant, and they weren't married yet, and he didn't want that. So he took off. He moved away and took a job working like in the oil business outside of Houston. He left and ran off. And so my mom was basically going to become a single mom, an unmarried single mom. And back in the 70s, that was a no-no. So she right after she gave birth to my older brother, she and my dad got married literally the next month. Now these are things that we never knew. We never knew these things. My family doesn't talk about those things. I'm the only one in my family that will talk about those things. That's the main reason why my family don't like me, because I'm the truth teller of the family. I'm like, what's wrong with talking about it? I mean, if you don't want people to know these things because of the way it looks, but it happened. Get over it. It's not a big deal. I don't think it's a big deal. I mean, you make some bad choices and some things happen, and that's the way it is. But my family doesn't think that way. So anyway, my mom and dad were actually living in Louisiana at the time I was born. I was born in Shreveport, Louisiana. And when I was still a baby suckling at my mom's teat, we moved to Houston. And I lived in Houston with my family until I was about 7 or 8 years old. And that's why I became a big Houston fan. I was grounded to second base and fired over to first. Two more outs. Victor Robles goes down. J.P. Crawford is due up next, followed by Randy Arozarena. The Mariners have 6 runs to make up and only 2 outs to do it in. Wow. 9 runs in this postseason game, most since any team after the 1968 World Series Game 6. For the Tigers, that is. The most scored in a postseason game by the Tigers since 1968. Crawford grounds to third. What a nice throw by McKinstry all the way across the field to get out number 2. One more out. The crowd is cheering right now. They were giving up before, but now they are living large. Arozarena at the plate. Anyway, when I was about 7 or 8, my dad was working for years at Armco Steel in Houston as a welder, and that's high for ball 2-0. It got shut down, right? And so my dad had to look for other work. He started going to different steel factories all over in and around Shreveport, even in Mansfield, working at Hendricks. That's a strike, 2-1. And all of those steel jobs were just leaving America and going to China. So my family began to struggle. 2 balls and 2 strikes. But anyway, my dad moved us back to Louisiana and we left Houston. I wish we never had. I wish I could have stayed in Houston with my grandmother. My life would have been so much better to stay in Houston and be with my grandma. She was living in Houston at the time. And swing and a miss. Arozarena goes down with a strikeout. Will Vest gets the 3rd out. And that's it. This game is over. 9-3. The Tigers come back and win and tie the series. How about that? The Detroit Tigers win at home. And they're going to send this back to Seattle for a Game 5. One of their greatest performances ever in a playoff game. 13 hits for the Tigers, 8 for the Mariners. They completely shut down the Mariners. 2 days later, we will have Game 5 back in Seattle, and we'll see who has the opportunity, who takes this opportunity to move to the ALCS. Wow. And we've got another game coming up in about an hour. I hope you can join me for that. I'm going to get something to eat. But anyway, what I was going to say is I lived almost all of my adult life between Louisiana and Texas, but mostly in Northwest Louisiana. But if you're thinking to yourself, you don't sound like a guy from Louisiana either. Well, you're right. And there's a really good reason for that. The reason for that is because when I was very young, I got my hands on a cassette player. It was my brother's cassette player, and I began to record my voice, and I was pretending like I had a radio show. And when I heard my recorded voice, I thought, man, I sound like my dad. My dad has a very thick country accent. You know, he's a real country boy. And I thought, I really don't want to have the really strong, thick country accent like that. And so I made the effort to speak just standard accent. That was my desire, to just speak a flat, standard American accent. And that's the reason why I don't sound like I'm from that area. Now, like I said, there's always going to be hints of it because when you live in that environment for a few decades, you can't help but pick up some of it, right? But you'll notice that I typically don't say y'all, and I don't say ain't, and I don't use certain vocabulary. I don't use certain expressions or grammar usages and et cetera and things like that. Now, part of that is because I'm a writer. I like writing. I draw. I'm an artist. I make movies. I've made short films. I made a film in China that's a full length film. A lot of that stuff I haven't shared on the channel, but I love writing stories. I'm writing a novel right now that takes place in historical Japan. I've studied a couple of different languages. My Spanish is poor, but I speak basic Chinese and I speak intermediate Japanese. I've lived now abroad for almost 13 years between China and Japan. I've traveled to 15 countries. So, well, I didn't say grandma. Well, I should have said. Well, grandma is kind of common, but actually, I didn't call her grandma. I called her mamaw. My grandmother on my dad's side is different. We weren't very close with her, but my mom's mom in Houston, she's mamaw. To me, she's mamaw. I don't know what you call your grandmother, but I called my grandmother mamaw and papaw, mamaw and papaw. But my papaw passed away when I was just about 2 years old in Houston, and maybe before I turned 3. And what's sad is that I can't remember my papaw, but I remember living in Houston at the time after he passed away. I cried every night for weeks. I remember that. Isn't that crazy? I remember going to bed every night and I would start thinking about him and then I would just start crying. And it made my brother so upset because he slept in the same room as me, my older brother. And I would just sob and cry so much. I remember my pillow being wet and I had to turn my pillow over. And when I finally would just be so tired and all out of tears, I'd finally just go to sleep out of exhaustion. I remember just thinking about it makes me upset because I loved my papaw and his birthday was very close to mine, just a couple of days away from mine. And we were super close. And then whenever my dad, we had a Jeep CJ5 and I loved that Jeep. And my dad decided to take the family and move to Louisiana, which I think was a selfish decision because it was more for him than for us. He had many more job opportunities in Houston, but he didn't want to be there. He wanted to go back to Louisiana and be in the country with his family, and he wanted to take us away. And after that, my family just went downhill. So I can't say that I was happy at all about being in Louisiana. I've never really identified with Louisiana, and I know that I don't really sound like I'm from any of those areas. But if I could go back and change one thing about my childhood, it would have been to stay in Houston. I would have stayed in Houston for sure. Even if my family had left, if I could go back, I would have stayed with my grandma. I would have done everything that I could to stay with my mama. If I could have stayed with my mama, yeah, I could have gone to a much better school. I could have had a better experience, better education, better athletics, chance to play baseball or maybe even American football. If you're wondering why do you call it American football? Why not just football? Well, it's because I've been living in I've been living in Asia. If I say football here, they'll think I'm talking about soccer. So it's just become a habit. But I really wanted to be a wide receiver in football, and I wanted to keep playing baseball, but I didn't have many opportunities because my dad drug us to these backwoods towns so he could keep trying to work these shut down steelworking jobs. And we moved a lot, and we became very poor, and things were terrible, and they struggled, and my family began arguing all the time. My mom and dad were always yelling and arguing. It was a terrible, I mean, went from having a good, perfect middle life, a middle class family life in Houston, and being close to other family that I really loved very much, especially my mama, cousins, and uncles and aunts, to suddenly being in the middle of the countryside. And we couldn't even see my dad's family for various reasons. We never had that good relationship with my dad's family. And the family just fell apart. And my mom got mentally worse and worse and worse. And finally, she passed away a few years ago from cancer. I lost an aunt to cancer, lost my mamaw to cancer. Mamaw passed away when I was 19, and I wasn't even there in Houston at the time. My uncle and my cousins in Houston, I never get to see them. But if I'd been able to stay in Houston, I think my life would have been so much better. And so I'm really sad about that. But, you can't change the past. That's one of the reasons why I decided to leave the US and go abroad. You only live this particular life one time, as far as I know. And so I decided I don't want to spend my final days in Louisiana. Overall, Louisiana didn't really do it for me. Louisiana has a lot of problems. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, just like the TV screen says, thank you for watching. Let's take a quick look at the Cubs Brewers game. It looks like it's in the top of the third, or maybe the middle of the third. Still 4-1 Cubs. Jose Quintana is pitching. But I am going to log off because I have another game coming up here in just a little bit. I hope you can join me for that. Thank you all for being here today. Final count on the likes. I didn't push you guys very hard for likes today. I hope you left me. Hey, look at that. Thank you so much. Seriously, I'm not being sarcastic. 52 likes on the live stream today. And I think that's excellent. If these live streams recently have not been nearly as busy and good as my Astros live streams, but I haven't been asking for the likes today consistently, but you guys and gals have got me up over 50. So I appreciate that very, very much. Absolutely. And I will see you in less than an hour. I will see you in less than an hour for the Yankees Blue Jays game. We'll see if that's going to go to a game 5 and we're going to have more work to do here, or if we're going to have a little break and just the one game on Saturday. We'll see. But I think it's about 45 minutes from now. I've got that scheduled, and I hope to see you there. I believe that I have a link that I can send you. This should refer you, but I will send you the link right quick. Game 4. If you want to go ahead and turn notifications on, you can. There you go. That's game 4, Blue Jays and Yankees, coming up in just a little bit, about 44 minutes from now. Look forward to seeing you there. And until I do, thank you again. And much love to you all and appreciation.